First question to you, while we're looking at several South films making waves across the globe, raking in the moolah much more in comparison to what Bollywood even imagined, we're seeing several of these stars now gloating about it and speaking with so much conviction. The latest being Mahesh Babu himself, who says Bollywood can't afford me. How would you look at this comment?
See, Mahesh Babu's comment, I am not sure in the context, because first of all, Bollywood can't afford me is a very meaningless comment. The reason being, Bollywood is not, a company. Bollywood is just a label given by the media signifying the Hindi film industry. Always an offer is made by a particular company, a particular producer, for a particular project. So if Mahesh is not happy with the kind of price which they are offering, you can always say, you can't afford me, I will not do it. So Bollywood cannot afford me. I think, first of all, the sentence itself is wrong, and I don't know, I'm not very sure in what context he said that. And so I can't comment more than this, but definitely the line is wrong. The basic meaning itself, it doesn't have any meaning to start with. Because right now what's happening, the South dubbed films are doing tremendous business. They are releasing their own films, and they are getting their money into the pockets, where Bollywood is not existent in this chain of what's happening in KGF 2 and RRR. So then Mahesh Babu is saying Bollywood cannot have this. Bollywood did not make these films. It is made by South Indian filmmakers. Both all the films what we are talking about just now. So Bollywood did not approach them to make the films which have become such big successes. So Mahesh Babu's comment actually doesn't have any meaning.
Right, Mr. Ram Gopal Varma, we do know that there is no smoke without fire, and we are seeing this debate raging on extensively, and it comes from, of course, that several South Indian films today are doing phenomenally well. Where do you think that Bollywood has been caught unaware?
My honest feeling is basically this whole thing is just not very, very exaggerated, because to start with, okay, fair enough, it never happened in history of cinema, though maybe in the 90s, I remember Shankar's film, like it's a Tamil dub film called Indian or something. And then something else of Prabhudeva film, Kadalan, they've released as dub language and done reasonably well. They're not blockbusters, but now we're seeing a very peculiar phenomenon in the entire history of Indian Hindi cinema I'm talking about. A Kannada dub film and a Telugu dub film being the biggest blockbuster is something short of a miracle. I don't know if something like that ever happened anywhere in the world. So I think that is which has brought this whole thing, like what you're saying, into the forefront. But the bottom line is, that is not a language. That is not about South and North cinema. That is a particular film. It is just 3 films which actually have done this, which is Pushpa, Bahubali, and RRR, and of course KGF 2. And they created as much ruckus even in the South, for information, because nobody knows how to match up to these kind of monstrous successes.
You know, Mr. Ram Gopal Varma, as much as we understand that this is possibly a cycle, you have one industry doing well and then the next, and it's a cycle that always revolves and rotates. But at a time like this, when we're seeing that the audience at large loves what the South cinema has to offer, do you think Bollywood can ever match up? Do you think there are stars that can match up? Do you think that the charisma of Bollywood industry itself can match up to this, larger than life projection that the South delivers, which it appears that audience in India loves?
In the 70s and 80s, actually, South was absolutely copying Bollywood, because all Amitabh Bachchan's remakes of Zanjeer, Diwar, Trishul, all of them were being remade, and Rajnikant and N.T. Ramarao and Chiranjeevi, they're becoming big stars because of remaking Hindi films. Then I think in the 90s, suddenly the music companies came over, and like Chips Time Audio and Bhushan Kumar, all that, they started making films to sell music. So the musicals like Maine Pyar Kiya, Hum Aapke Kaun, and Sajan and all that, Ashiki, they became huge things. So Bollywood completely stopped making the so-called masala action films for the next 20, 30 years. But South never stopped doing that. What they caught in the 70s and 80s, which is the reason all these stars are such big cult symbols and they're treated like gods, because they were making films like that with characters designed to do that. So as far as Hindi is concerned, if you look at it, maybe 10 years back, with Rajini came just one off. They were not really serious about it. And one off, and Bahubali also being a period film, still it looks like an exotic movie which comes once in a blue moon. Then I think it's Pushpa, Triple R, and of course KGF 2 coming in quick succession within a few months of each other, and timed with Bollywood films nowhere doing those numbers. I mean, now imagine Ajay Devgan's Suryavanshi opens at 26 crores on day one, and this opens at 3 crores, runway 34. And same thing with probably Tiger Shroff and whatever. All these films not working. I feel it, on side by side, these films are opening at 54 crores and all. I think that created a huge wake-up call, but the warning signs were there. Since the last 7 to 8 years, actually, Telugu and Tamil Hindi dubbing, Hindi dubbing for satellite were being sold for phenomenal prices, like 20 crores, 25 crores now. Which means there was an audience out there wanting to see that film, and Bollywood was completely blind to it, and they were not even aware, except for some passing information.